Enough to Keep Going podcast. Happy 2020. That's right. We're even more in the future now. We're in 2020. It's January 7th, Tuesday, 2020. I'm your host, Osiris Prime. Tonight I have just one other of our co hosts, and that is Mr. DBQ Hams. DB, how are you? How was your holiday?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing good. My holiday was nice. It's good to be back and talking again. It seems like it's been a while, but we had so much to talk about at the end of the season here and the end of the year. But my holiday was nice. Everybody stayed healthy, which is also good. So
Good.
uh,
Yeah,
that's
unfortunately, I
never
think
a bad thing.
one of our other hosts might have been a little ill during the holiday season, as he told us today, unfortunately.
Yes. Yep. But hopefully everybody is recovering, which is good.
Yeah. Um, so we're gonna do something a little different. Well, I shouldn't say a little different, kind of the same but different. So we were gonna have our kind of our
Kind of.
decade in review podcast, but we had to postpone that for now. I think we're gonna do that next week, I believe, or
I think
try to
that
get it
is a
going.
schedule for next week that we will be coming at with the decade in review, and the date on that may be maybe not the normal release date, but we'll see when that drops.
Yep. So it's not enough to keep going if we don't change something in the new year. So
It's
might be a
very true.
yep, might be a different day, probably same time, but might be a little later in the week. But we'll see. We'll see what happens next week. So we're just going to do our GX show. I don't remember. Did we finish with the GX show? Or was it a new deep dive for last year?
We did one GX show right before we did
Our two-parter.
um, the two-parter.
Okay. So yeah, we're
Yep.
gonna go into our gamer experience show where we talk about. Well, we have no picks plays this week, at least not to report out on. But at the end of the episode, we will talk about our picks plays for next time in a couple weeks, or probably more than that actually. But tonight we're going to go back and forth, and me and DBQ are going to talk about what we've been playing. I actually played a variety of stuff this past couple weeks, and even actually before that. There's one game I didn't actually get to talk about too much, so I wanna try to bring that in here. But DB, what do you got up first for us tonight? A little Xbox One action.
Sure. Let's start with some Xbox One. Devil May Cry 5 came to Game Pass, and so during the actually over New Year's that my sons had some friends over and occupied most of the TVs and game consoles and PC, which meant that I was left with my Xbox and one. And yeah, I'm not complaining. I was left with my Xbox and a 4K TV. So I wanted to see some new graphics, something that was, Devil May Cry got some accolades for its action game as an action game during some of the Game of the Year stuff. So I thought, oh, I'd give this a try. And um, I don't think I've played it. I played some DMC, the Western developed Devil May Cry, but I have never really played a whole lot of the Devil May Cry series. So getting in and knowing, knowing knew Dante obviously, but then Nero and V, there's you can start a new game or you can start the Devil May Cry story movie, which will catch you up with a whole lot of other lore within the Devil May Cry, the wacky Devil May Cry universe. Um, but the game itself controls really well. I mean, it is. It's a good action game. It's a tight action game. You've got a couple options. It's actually a really approachable action game, in terms of kind of a combo based, like Devil May Cry, like Bayonetta, a number of um, kind of action games where you'll get into a battle and get a score at the end of it. That's part of Devil May Cry's shtick is to give you that kind of striving for the S rank and chaining together combos, and it's not necessarily always the difficulty, but it's the ability for you to keep a high combo together or a varied combo together. And so they do something interesting where you have a standard kind of format to be able to do that in terms of gameplay style, but then you can also do a simplified combo where it will automatically start chaining together some of the button prompts. So you can you can kind of make it a little more mashy in terms of a little more God of War than Devil May Cry in terms of simplifying original God of War, right? The PlayStation 2 God of War in terms of high attack, low attack, or heavy and light attack, and not necessarily have to pull together your range and all the other combo pieces, and it will start stringing those together a little bit for you. So you can kind of button mash, just switch it up a little bit, and it will find kind of a close combo to help with the score. It doesn't mean you're going to get a great score, but you're going to kind of survive your way through this stylus action. That's what I did. I got further in that. I played a little bit of both just to see kind of the differences. And it was, it's super stylish, man. It is one of the coolest kind of opening title sequences and credits that I've seen a video game do in a long time. Very stylish. There's a lot of kind of gothic horror, mythology in here. Um, but at the same time, there's this kind of J-pop kind of stylistic aspect to it all, and it was pretty fun. Some of the characterizations are right up there in kind of the cheekiness of them, or the over the top hamminess of some of the stereotypes. You've got a, a Western Texas draw female character who's along with you. They're playing into the stereotypes for sure, but that is kind of Devil May Cry's. Um, it trades in that's for sure. So, but again, for a game on Game Pass, for something that is relatively easy and accessible to a variety of different players because of its combat styles and options, accessibility options, that it's certainly worth checking out if anybody's enjoyed Devil May Cry or has been Devil May Cry curious at any point in time. Um, I will say, I haven't necessarily gone back to it a lot since last week, and I'm not necessarily sure that I will.
Oh, so had you played any previous ones?
So I played the who are we talking about? The Heavenly Sword developers, Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory did the DMC one. So I had played that again, the multiple combo pieces there. But I mean, it is more about my preference in terms of style than it is about the gameplay. Like the gameplay was super fun.
Yeah.
It was really enjoyable. It fit in with that, but at the same time, I can appreciate Bayonetta as a game, but I never really stick with those games for too long, just because I I don't necessarily care about the S rank, and so it's not a knock on the game itself. So if it is a style of gameplay that you enjoy, it's a good one of them.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played. I think I played some demos, like a couple demos back on. I think the 360 actually. But I never actually just sat down and played a DMC. So
Yeah.
just Bayonetta, which is like a DMC, obviously kind of roots from there. So, but other than that, I mean, as far as gameplay at least.
And you've played Bayonetta, but did you stick with it?
I kind of go back and forth on it every once in a while.
Okay.
I'll kind of come back to it.
Yeah, yep, I can see that. And that's where this kind of feels to me like it's the equivalent of I could drop a couple quarters and play 20 minutes at an arcade kind of beat 'em up. But I don't know that I'm going to sit there for an hour or two at a slot to come back to it. It scratches a certain itch.
Yeah, just when you want just kind of like dumb fun. Just kind of
Hmm.
go into it because the stories. I mean, well, I don't know about DMC, but at least in Bayonetta, it's like I have no idea what's going on. It's kind of like they just throw you into it, like stuff's already happened, and then you're trying to kind of backtrack onto it, and it's like So
Yeah, I mean, this one definitely starts you kind of at kind of that kind of fake conclusion aspect of here's a big final battle, but it's really not the final battle, and you're thrown into the world after you lose. Um, but by the fact that it has the video primer means that it gives you a chance to catch up on all those characters and not have to necessarily do a big Wikipedia deep dive to figure out who's who. Um, it is. It's fun, kind of campy in some ways, but enjoyable at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that they actually have that little previously on, DMC.
Hmm.
Devil May Cry. That's kind
Yep.
of cool.
Yeah. No, I think that's for a series named Five. You know, how many people? Well, I think of you when you picked up Kingdom Hearts, right? Like the idea of getting into the lore of that
Yeah.
series. So yeah, I think it is really, it makes it very accessible, and I think that that's where this game goes really above and beyond. Is that it's not just playing to the same kind of audience that it's always found, but it's it's acknowledging that maybe this type of gameplay might be something that's enjoyable for a variety of others too.
Yeah, I would have loved if Kingdom Hearts would have had that, or even if they would have, I think Xbox is supposed to get the collection that was originally on the PlayStation. I thought I had read somewhere or seen somewhere
Mm,
eventually, but it would have been nice if we would have got that before 3 came out. But I mean, it's all right. I still kind
yeah,
of go through that every once in a while too. So the craziness. But yeah, it's fun. I like it.
nice. So what have you been playing?
All right, so I'll go through a couple of quick ones real quick. So I jumped back into Mortal Kombat 11. Um, Over the holiday, they actually had a sale on their season pass, or whatever you want to call it, where they're dropping different characters like about once a month, I
Mm.
believe. So they start off with Shang Tsung, who I can't remember the actor's name from the original Mortal Kombat movie, but he's doing the voice again. He played Shang
Oh,
Tsung.
cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. And then they dropped Nightwolf, and then Sindel, I believe was last month's in December's. So I was going back and just kind of playing that, and then going through man, I can't remember what it's called now. It's like the adventure, kind of the adventure game. It's not even really a game. You kind of just like going through this crypt area, and you can like open up chests, and you get more skins, artwork, and fatalities. So it's kind of cool. Just kind of doing that. It's kind of dumb fun. And just I haven't really played online because I usually get
And you
wrecked.
playing that on Switch or Xbox?
Yeah, on the Nintendo Switch. So yeah, it looks it you can it looks good. Obviously, it's not the best. Like if it was on Xbox or PlayStation, or I don't know if it came out on PC or not, but you can kind of see like the jaggies around the characters, and there's kind of like this weird like outline that you kind of see around them. But I mean, it still looks pretty good. I mean, even on the Switch, docked or on handheld mode. So I mean,
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask as
yeah,
well.
it's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. Actually, they got that on there. Well, I guess it's not. I shouldn't say amazing because it's just a fighting game, but still, I mean, it's the graphics are usually pretty good in that game. So at least 9 and 10 were. 11 doesn't seem to be that far off either. So yeah, I've been having fun with that, and then I've actually been playing a lot of Pokemon Shield lately. Now
Mm.
that I totally forgot about the wild area. I knew about it, but I just forgot that you can actually go online and do the battles, kind of like in Pokemon Go when you do like the raid battles, kind of the same thing there.
Yep.
So I've been doing a
Joining
lot.
with other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can join with 3 other people, so 4 altogether, and battle. Like a super powered Pokemon, and they have like special ones. They had ones for like Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool.
Neat.
So I've been doing that. Yeah. And then you can like set up a camp and you can visit each other's camp, and you just see like the Pokemon running around in there. So it's kind of cool just to see what everybody has, and you can do just straight up trades with somebody else who happens to be online in that same server that they put you in, or you can do a surprise trade, which is kind of cool. So I just throw a random Pokemon in there, and it picks somebody. We switch off. Right now, I'm still at the beginning of the game, so it's the other person might not be getting the best things, but I haven't got anything like super powerful or anything like that. So nothing. I think the highest I got maybe it was like in the low 20s, and I already have Pokemon that I had leveled up to that high, so it's nothing like super overpowered. So it's nice. So I don't know if they do that on purpose or if I
Mm.
just happen to
That's
be
good.
getting people with the same amount or around the same amount level. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, if they do any type of matchmaking in there.
Yeah, I hadn't read anything about that, but I have to look a little further to see if they do that. Online, like when you're trying to find people, it's a little bit of annoying because you can there's a screen you go into and you kind of filter out if you want to do trades or if you want to do the battles and stuff like that.
Mm.
And if someone's actively looking for one, you can actually just join in right there, or you just go into one of the little um, glowing orb, not orbs, but it's like a hole in the ground almost. So you can kind of see
Yeah,
like
yep. The
a light
little,
coming out.
it
Yeah,
looks like a
yeah, and you go over
tree
there.
trunk or kind of a cave. Yeah.
Yeah. So you go into that, and it takes you into a menu. You say, "Hey, do you want to invite people?" You say yes, and then it searches for people. But like, even if I'm standing there with other people around it, it's like it doesn't even. Sometimes I won't find people, and I've looked up online, and I guess that happens a lot. So I don't know if it's
Hmm.
just some weirdness
Saying
there.
that there's other people. So do you see other people in the wild? I mean, I think
Yeah,
the few times I've been to the wild, I guess I've seen a couple people running around. Yeah.
yeah. So you actually, when you go into the wild initially, I think they by default they put you just local. You're just on like your own. It's just you're
Okay.
playing locally, and then you have to go into the menu and say, "Hey, I want to connect to internet," and then you start seeing people like running and riding around.
Yes, that I remember. That's
Yeah,
they
which
you do
I,
get that
I
prompt.
didn't know that for
Yep.
a couple days. So I'm like, where, what? I don't. How am I not like connecting to anybody? So I was doing most of the battle, and then if you go into a battle and nobody, like a real person joins you, it just matches you up with random CPU person. So
Yeah, I've done that as well, where you get the bots with you.
yeah, which
Yep.
kind of hit or miss with those. Like sometimes they just have like that like a magic carp. It's like, come on, man, it's not gonna do anything. So, but other times you usually, I think they really the one that in that, at least in that first area, because there's a kind of sectioned off area, and they kind of tell you like, hey, this section you're gonna have way more powerful Pokemon, so you better be ready. So at least they warn you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that initial
Yeah.
little area, you can pretty much do it by yourself as long as you have fairly decent leveled up Pokemon. So it's not too bad. So I've been enjoying that though. It's been pretty cool. And then I've
Nice.
got my first gym badge finally. So I've got that. Finally got one of those under my belt. So I'm heading off to the next one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Nice.
How about you?
Good.
You got some more?
I've got some more. Let's do
Excellent.
two indie games here.
Okay.
So, one on Xbox and one on PC. So, I also played some My Friend Pedro. So, this came out this summer, I believe is when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, in June. Dead Toast, published by Devolver Digital. Um, Fun, stylistic game. Definitely one of those like, oh, I'll just do one more level. At least for me, it really was. I think I sat down. Unlike Devil May Cry, I think I sat down and sunk 2 hours into it without even noticing, because it just kind of strings together one. I mean, in some ways, there are a series of missions that create a level, um, but a lot of times you're moving from kind of room to room in kind of a kill box room, or you've got a series of platforms and switches, or you've got multiple enemies coming at you, and other moving obstacles within the room, and you're trying to obviously take them out, and keep some combos together in terms of doing that. But you've got some nice abilities there where you can, if you're dual wielding, you can lock on to one person, aim and lock on, and then use the stick to then move your other arm to so you can be shooting at two different places and do a dual kill or multiple shots there. You've got kind of a bullet time aspect that you have a meter to. So there's a lot of it's almost like a bullet time puzzle in some ways, and not necessarily in like a super hot type of way, but a little more platformy than that. But a lot of fun actually. A little bit of humor in its style. The Pedro banana is really just this kind of spectral banana talking to you, really kind of in your head. Um,
Kind of like that, kind
but
of Deadpoolish, kind of
yeah, I mean
humor, kind of like that.
yes, I mean, and even the I could see where you could look at the costume and say like, okay, sure, that's like the let's make sure we don't get sued the version of Deadpool, right? I mean, it's yellow and blue. It still has a total face covered, and there is some of that. So yeah, it's pretty fun. I mean, it's a little it's not completely self-aware that it's a game. It definitely still plays that it's telling this kind of action story, um, but it has some fun and humor with it as well. So So that's been pretty fun. That again is one of those where it's pretty easy to dive in, play a few, and set it back down and come back to it. Um, as long as you remember which buttons do which as you go.
And that's all just
And
shooting, right? There's no melee of any kind, or
you can kick, but the
oh,
kick is not super fast. I mean, it's effective. It'll take an enemy out, but there's kind of a there's some frames to it, so it's not an instantaneous piece.
okay.
Yeah, it is just shooting. So the other game that has a number of controls to it and is another indie game is Blasphemous. This came out in the fall on PC. It's on multiple consoles as well. It was on sale for Switch. I saw it on sale multiple times during the holidays and some of their indie sales. So it's a Metroidvania esque game with some Souls-like trappings in terms of a save system, um, but it really plays out more Metroidvania-y. But it's not fast in its combat. You know, you've kind of got a slower swing, um, but you are. I mean, so that part feels that kind of frame counting esque of a Souls game. You're definitely, you know, this is not a quick button mashy, my friend Pedro. That these are you're swinging heavier weapons at least to start with, and you've got to kind of factor that into your attack speed. So, but it's got a lot of style, but it that style also turned me off. Um, you know, so this is the oh, it almost has like the 80s metal kind of European gothic style to it. Okay, I guess and maybe I just made up that as a style, but let's say the developer is a Spanish studio, so I kind of get where this is coming from. Um, that it is it's right in there of it's you've got masks with um, spikes in them and reviving blood, and there's a lot of kind of gothic blood aspects to it, which if that's a genre that kind of engages you, the the gameplay of this is good. um if you're looking for a Metroidvania game, but you don't want to do fantasy or time travel, or kind of cartoony Ori Will o' the Wisp type of things, that this is another that type of game in a very kind of darker style to it.
So what made you get this on the Switch? Because I see it's on, well, basically everything: Xbox, PS4, Steam.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I picked it up on. I had it. It was a Humble Bundle game
Oh,
for
okay.
this month, and so that was a Christmas gift, and so I gave it a try. And just that I know that it's on a variety of things, but I played it on PC.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. All right, so the next one I am going to talk about, I didn't get to play a whole lot of this right now, or quite yet. I played a little bit of the kind of the first. I don't want to say the levels because it's kind of an open world, but the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm trilogy that was on sale, I think, for like 15 or 20 bucks on the Switch.
So
Um,
when did you pick this up? Are you a Naruto fan that you've followed this, or
Yeah, actually, yeah. I used to watch the anime. Probably watch most of the. I wouldn't say most because those things run pretty long. The season of the original Naruto. But yeah, I always followed. I followed the anime. So, and I played. I think I played this first one, the first one of the trilogy, back on the Xbox 360 because it's an old. These are all older games, or at least the first one is. Um, and I picked it up back then. I was playing, well, kind of like now really. I was playing way too much, so I kind of dropped it. But yeah, since it was so, it was such a low price, I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick it up and try it out. I know my son too. He'll watch the anime sometimes, every once in a while. Um, I don't think he's got the patience for anime right now, at least at his age. At least especially Naruto. Well, it's kind of like any of these, like Dragon Ball Z, because there's gonna be a lot of talking sometimes. So he just, he wants to get to the fight scenes and stuff like that. But sometimes I'll watch it, and we'll watch it together. But it's pretty cool. And he's actually he picked it up and he plays it every once in a while too. So it's kind of nice to see him, jump around and just the little like intro village that they put you in at first because you can't, you have to go into missions to actually start doing any fighting. So he could just kind of screw around in there and do his
Mm.
powers and stuff like that. Um, but I went through the first couple of just kind of story missions, and it plays fine. It plays great. I mean, obviously at least that first one's last gen game, so it looks good. Looks fine to me. Kind of that cell shaded graphics, so you can't really go wrong with that, especially on the Switch. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
but have you ever played any of these, or I don't know if you ever followed any of the Naruto games?
Uh, no, none of the Naruto games. No.
Okay, but yeah, it was cool. Like I said, it was like 15, $20, so I couldn't pass it up. And
Yeah, good value.
I think
Lots
I
of
used some of the
gameplay there.
my Nintendo points too, so I dropped it down even more. So it was nice. It was good.
Nice.
So it was good.
Nice. So talk to me about um, a game that I have been playing as well over the break is Ring Fit Adventure.
Ring
You
Fit
have you
Adventure.
did you pick that up then, or it's on your list of what you've been playing?
Yeah, so I actually picked this up for my wife, for her for well, I mean, really, it was for both of us for Christmas. I just thought it was kind of a neat thing, to get us into. We both kind of work out a little bit as it is right now, but and this was kind of a more of a more fun gamified way to do it, which I kind of
Yep.
liked. And man, I do mostly weights, so this was like a whole different thing for me because this is mostly like kind of cardio and like aerobic type of exercise. So it was really kicking my butt. I did it a few times over the break. I haven't had a chance to go back to it right now, but yeah, I mean it really does give you a workout. I mean, obviously, like
Mhm.
they give you the calorie count and all that stuff at the end. It's like, oh, you don't, you're not going to drop a whole lot of, you're not going to lose a whole lot of calories and stuff like that. But it does get you, working, moving and sweating, definitely sweating. I was sweating. So it's pretty cool. I was just going through the story mode. I didn't do any. I guess there's like mini games and stuff. I didn't do that. I'm assuming that's the quick play, the
Yeah, the
option.
quick play either has actual exercises or a bunch of mini games. But in the story mode, you end up seeing some of those mini games, or
Okay.
at least as far as I'm in the story mode, you see some of those mini games. Um,
Yeah. So I got
yeah,
past the
but
first
still,
world so far,
okay,
but I
yeah,
got stuck on that second world. I couldn't go past. I think I got past like the first little section you get to, and then I couldn't get past the next one. So I was like, oh, okay. So I actually had to go. I went back to the first world again to kind of like level up because you can't. There's like
level up.
there's like RPG elements a little
Yep.
bit, so you can level up and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
you can go back and replay a world, or if you get defeated by the purple dragon boss, you can
Yeah,
rerun it as you level up.
Mr. Buff Dragon guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I actually that first level I was like, oh, this gonna be pretty easy, and then the second level was just kicking my butt. So it's even worse.
yeah,
But
and I think it depends on like the intensity that you set it to. Like,
yeah,
so at our family here, we've got it set at multiple different intensities, and so my younger son can kind of whip through some of it because his intensity is a little lower, and me at a higher intensity in like the mid 20s, I'm doing reps of, I'm holding it for longer or doing a lot more reps, and so
yeah,
it ends up I'm hitting more on the gameplay side of it. It means that I'm actually doing more damage during a round because I've got 30 reps to do versus 15.
yeah. Yeah, I know you can change that, and I was just like, I don't want to, I don't want to put it down, and I kind of wanted to leave it where it was at. So for
Yeah,
now, at
yep.
least, that's why I kind of went
No,
back
it's
to that
good.
original world.
It's fun and it does. It works up a sweat. There's definitely been times where I certainly have sweated. There's been times when I can feel my arms shaking. Um, even one of the first times that I did it, when I, went out and took my dogs for a walk just around the block, I could feel my legs kind of like, oh, so, and I mean, I run on a regular basis, so it's not like I should have, I'm completely out of shape. So, um, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's an enjoyable experience. It's a fun game. It's something that, and I feel like they really did get it. They nailed it in terms of the control aspects. Like it does feel like it captures most of your movements in a meaningful way.
yeah, it was pretty spot on. I was actually surprised about that.
Hmm.
'Cause sometimes these peripherals and stuff like that will kind of be off, but yeah, this was pretty good. I did a leg strap though. I gave me a lot of problems. Like I always had to keep adjusting that thing. So I don't know. I don't know I don't know if I
Like
just
it
got
wasn't sliding on or off. I mean,
it.
it was.
It just kept sliding off like my leg. Like it just kind of slide down my leg. So I was like, I don't know if I just got to tighten it or I don't know what was going on with that thing.
Yeah,
So
I end up having to really tighten it up, and it depends, I think, on what you're wearing as well. Or at
yeah,
least it seems to.
yeah. I
My
mean, there
son
was
actually.
I made the
was
mistake of
doing
wearing
it.
jeans the first time. That was the wrong move.
Yep. Like if I'm wearing shorts and I put it right up against my skin, it stays pretty much where it is. But if I'm putting it over something, it seems to slide.
Yeah, yeah, that probably makes sense too. I probably should try it with shorts. It'd probably be better. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with it. So the story's kind of goofy and some goofy humor, Nintendo humor. So that's cool.
Cool.
Not too
Nice.
bad.
So let's stick on the Nintendo piece because I was traveling and had the Switch with me, so I had a chance to play a series of Switch games as well. Um, I played a little bit of Assassin's Creed, the Rebel Collection. So this is um, Black Flag and Rogue, and it has all the DLC in there as well. So you get the um, I'm trying to even think of you get the Aveline one, which is the character. It's a shorter DLC. It's a character from the PlayStation Vita game,
Oh
and
yeah.
then yep, and then you get the Bahama, the Panama one, not Panama, but the Bahama character one, which is more of a standalone, and so it all comes together, and it's most of it's on. I mean, the Black Flag's on the disc. Rogue is a download or on the cartridge, and um, it looks really good in handheld. Right, if you put it up on the screen, it looks like it's a older generation type of game or earlier this generation type of game. Um, putting it up against the versions of Black Flag on Xbox One, it certainly doesn't compare, but it still looks pretty good. Even putting it up on my 4K TV, it it it, it polishes it up kind of nicely. There's not as many jaggies as I thought there would have been, and and playing it on handheld works really well, and it looks really good too.
Oh,
So it runs really smooth. I mean, that's where it feels like the optimization here is really sound. Um, it's like $30 on sale most of the time, so there's a lot of game there. I got it through GameFly. I sent it back. I'll probably look for it as it drops down closer to the 20s because I own these games in different versions. But
okay.
if I hadn't owned them, that this is a really great way to own both of them on a single cartridge. That they're optimized. There's a little bit of motion control with some aiming in there that's optional. Uh, kind of like Splatoon in terms of aiming when you have a pistol.
Oh, okay.
But for the most part, I was expecting something that kind of ran a little slow that felt like a kind of cheap port, and I was impressed that it felt like a pretty polished game.
Was
So
Black Flag was is that part of one of the numbered Assassin's Creed, or is that like an off, like a side story?
Black Flag
Was that four?
was 4. Yep.
Okay, so
So
three
it's
was
the
the
3 was the American Revolution,
okay.
and then 4 was you're actually the grandfather of the bad guy in 3. And the DLC that I was trying to think of is Freedom Cry, which is I've played it on PlayStation 4. It's good story. It's the first kind of not kind of, it's the first African American or African descent character for Assassin's Creed because he's a slave that escapes, and so it deals with some of those concepts around the slave trade at that time as well,
Okay.
which provides a little bit of kind of social political weight to it
Yeah.
too.
Did they have?
So,
Did they release three on the Switch? I can't remember. I
hmm
thought they did. Right? Did you play that one or?
3 was remastered. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I have it on Xbox, so I wasn't too eager to try to play it on. But reading reviews of both of these, that what I'm saying about how smooth this felt, that is consistent. That people were saying that the 3 felt they had some frame rate problems
Mm.
with it. So and that might have been patched out by now. But yeah, so I played that. I had that from GameFly, and I also had 2 other games from GameFly. But I want to toss it back over to you because did you? pick up this next game, or was this a Christmas gift at some point in time?
Which one is that? There's two different
Wolfen,
ones.
the only one left on your list to talk. Oh no, you got two to talk about,
I
don't
got
you?
two more. Well,
I
yeah, one more after
talk to
this
me
one.
about Pine, because this is one I had to look up when you put it out there. What is Pine, and how did you stumble on this?
So I was just looking through the eShop one day. Just I'm not even sure if this was on sale. I think it was just I was looking at the recently released section, and I saw it. And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I was kind of looking for something indie and something kind of I don't want to say different because it's an open world action game basically, kind of survival game. So I
Hmm.
mean I've played plenty of those, but I was just looking for more of an indie type of deal, and this is created by developer called Twirlbound, and this is actually a Kickstarter game, and I believe it was already released on maybe at least PC. I don't think it was on the consoles yet when it came out on the Switch, but I'm pretty sure it came out at least on PC. And yeah, it's just an open world action adventure game where you play as this human in this kind of animal, not run, but animal. There's like animalmorphic animals that kind of roam around in this world also, and it's graphically it's fine. Like it's not going to shock you. At least not on the Switch. I'm sure on the PC and maybe on the other consoles it might be a little bit more prettier. And there can be some like popping sometimes, and they seem to
Mm.
updated it and patched it out. Some of it patched it out. Sometimes like I'll be literally standing next to like something on the shore, or just standing on the shore, and then all of a sudden I'll see something like pop in. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And you can like pick things up too, and that was another reason I was like, wait, what? There's something supposed to be here, and then something popped up. But it's this feels more like it would be a good MMO, or at least the
Huh.
multiplayer type of game. But it's a single. It's totally single player right now.
So
So
is it timed combat like that, or is it kind of, um, you know, Legend of Zelda type of combat?
yeah, no, it's more Legend of Zelda. It's real
Okay.
time. So
It's an interesting graphic style. I was just looking up some pictures here,
yeah,
but
I'm trying to think. I guess you can. There's a certain flow, I guess, to the combat when you're fighting creatures and stuff like that. It's very unforgiving. Like it throws you right into the middle of these creatures, and it's like there's kind of like these kind of power play between each like tribe of animals and stuff. So for right now, I think there's only like 4 or 5 different ones that you can meet, at least as far as I've gotten in the game. But when you go into one of the villages, you have to like put offerings like onto these little pedestals that kind of around the world for each village, and then as
hmm.
you kind of level up on that pedestal, then you can become friendly with them because you kind of start out not really neutral, but kind of like enemy-ish a little bit because they'll attack you pretty much right away. So you kind of have to do it
Hmm.
quick. Like if there's guys walking around, there's always guys walking around. So you kind of go in there, put stuff in there. And there's random things you find in the world. Like it'll tell you like when you go in there, it says, "Hey, I need like branches or something like that or whatever they call them in this game." So you do as you do that and level up, then you become friends, and then you can go into the village. There's actually a board in the village that shows like the other animal races, and it tells you if you're like friendly or if they're enemies to that village. So it's kind of cool in that respect. So it's a pretty interesting game though. I guess I don't want to really spoil anything, but it's kind of cool
Okay.
just how it starts
It
off. And
sounds like you're enjoying it.
yeah,
Like other than kind of the graphical limitations,
yeah. I mean,
you
other
seem
than
to
the
be enjoying it.
graphics, I was a little bit disappointed with the graphics, just because from some of the trailers and stuff, and I'm assuming they were just using PC and
Yeah, it looks really pretty.
consoles. Yeah, because I was like, it
Hmm.
doesn't look like that, but it's all right. I mean, that part's fine. I'm not really a graphic snob like some people sometimes are. So I kind of got past that and was just going with the story's fine. It's kind of a you know find my brother. He's kind of lost in the world, or maybe he's not, or he might have died. He might not have. So that kind of thing. So it's nothing like groundbreaking, but the story wise or I mean gameplay wise, it's kind of cool how you can do different things, and you start out with like the simple stick and stuff like that. And, you work way up to swords and bows and other things like that. So it's pretty cool. There's crafting. It's not really hard or anything. You find like blueprints, or, and then you can as soon as you find that, then you can craft it as long as you have the materials. So I mean, there's stuff all over the world, so it's not super hard. So, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. But first thing I thought once I got into the big open world, I was like, oh man, this would be kind of cool if there's other people wandering around and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's like maybe their future goal, and I don't know if they're still. I think they're still accepting like Kickstarter stuff. So maybe that's
Huh.
kind of one of their future goals to do something like that.
Still in development. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
so it's pretty cool though. It's not too bad. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, that was the other reason I was looking for another. I was actually looking for another game that was supposed to be kind of Zelda-ish, and that's when I stumbled upon this one. So
And there was a couple that came out that
there
were
was, yeah, and I think I
Zelda.
actually had thrown it in the in the Discord thing
Hmm.
too when I was talking about it. But then I found this one. I was like, oh, I'm gonna try this one out. So, but I might go back to the other one eventually one day. But so it's kind of cool.
Cool. No, it looks. I thought I had a deep pull with Blasphemous, but this is a deep pull. So
Yeah,
really
kind of
interesting.
out of
You know,
nowhere.
I'm always glad to be surprised by a game I hadn't heard of. So, but thematically and stylistically, I want to stick with another Switch game here with Risk of Rain 2. So Risk of Rain 2 is it's an indie game. The original one was kind of a 2D roguelike, space adventure roguelike developed by two guys out of Washington, uh, college students or game design students. And Risk of Rain 2 it came out this year, but it's in a full 3D environment, and you can play. Again, it's co-op, so you can play together. You can play by yourself, or you can play together. But it takes that kind of rogue run based roguelike game and throws it into a 3D environment. So you're dropped on a procedurally generated world, and you are basically trying to find your way to the exit, find your way to the warp gate. Once you find the warp gate or the launch pad, that it'll spawn kind of a boss battle. But all the while that you're there, the longer you're there, the harder the enemies get. So there's only a few enemies that first start out, and all this is within, you know, within a 5 minute run. The enemies are insanely difficult. So they're kind of quick run based rounds, and it you could start in the first 30 seconds and kind of feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere, and then you start seeing a few enemies, or you might get hit from the side by something you're not seeing, which is one of the downsides of moving this from a 2D to a 3D environment is your field of view is a whole lot less, and enemies are still popping up all around you. So there's a kind of a limitation to the game design there, but otherwise, I had a lot more fun with this than I was expecting. Really is kind of a chill game as well. There's this nice uh, kind of electronica kind of soundtrack to it that really just kind of gets you into that flow state. Uh, and at first, that music kind of works because you're kind of out in this, kind of simplistic No Man's Sky type of exploration. And as the enemies ramp up, the music kind of goes along with it, and so you get into this rhythm of getting amped up as the action amps up. Um, so it's really enjoyable. It's hard as heck though. Every time you know, I couldn't find the goal all the time, but once I understood what I was doing, I could usually keep moving around enough to get close to the, to find. Most of my runs I could find a goal, um, but I haven't ever beaten it in terms of getting out and getting to the next spot, because I'm usually as low of health as possible. But it's something where you can play up to 4 players, and so I think that it's one of those where if you're playing cooperatively, suddenly this becomes not only it's a lot more enjoyable because it's in that Destiny vein of you could probably play this and chat along, and have the conversation. But it also, just like when you're fighting in a Borderlands game, that sometimes those enemies don't always scale, and you need, having the extra firepower makes the enemies a whole lot easier. I think that's the case here. There's a lot of times when I'm getting attacked from all different directions, and if there were multiple players on the screen at once helping take some of those out, that would probably allow me to survive a little longer. But again, another really fun designed game. Um, kind of that meshes style and gameplay together well. So
Is it only online, or you can play by yourself if you wanted to?
I played by myself. Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
play online. So
Does it
I
give you
probably
AI
should have played
partners
online to
or?
get. No, it doesn't give you any AI partners, which works. I mean, it's difficult, um, but there is some. I think there's even some local co-op you could do with it as well. And not I think I know there's some local co-op you could do with it as well.
Okay.
Um, so and that's a nice thing too, right? Where you have that ability to do local co-op, which would you know I think again, like any local co-op, it increases the enjoyment of conversation and strategy around a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, it's on basically everything at this point. It's something where oh, I'm gonna look for it in the coming year here when it goes on sale, and if it hits down into that 15 $10 price point, it's certainly be something I would pick up and and play with.
Do that like when you do die. I mean, because obviously you're eventually gonna die. Do those deaths feel kind of cheap? It's like, hey, I won this, and then all of a sudden you just get smashed by like like 100-foot person or something, or 100-foot monster, or is it more subtle?
Um, no, I mean it feels earned, right? I mean that it's not like I'm suddenly getting smashed out of the sky by something I never was aware of.
Right.
It usually is that, um, as I was saying, the intensity of the enemies ramps, not necessarily it's the frequency and the amount of them. So it's like being swarmed by aliens on a planet, right? I
Okay.
mean that it has that type of feel like I'm on a foreign a planet and a hostile planet, and I'm being attacked, and I didn't realize that I must be close to the nest type of thing. So it feels like okay, I can see how I died.
Yeah.
I mean, it does playing single. It does also become a little frustrating because it feels very difficult to manage the sheer amount of everything that's going on. But at the same time, it was still a lot of fun. I mean, I you know, I had a big smile on my face playing it, so which
That's
was
good.
good.
Yeah. And just kind of not open world, but kind of just a large area that they throw you in. You
Yeah,
said.
large. I mean, it's procedurally generated. There's a distinct space for it. Um, so it is kind of it's an open world 3D environment, but it's not a complete open world.
Right.
You have a defined space that you're working in, and you're trying to get to the jump gate, which is randomly placed within this procedurally generated world. So
Yeah.
every time you play it, it's like Diablo, right? You're never gonna know where the end dungeon is.
Yeah.
You're in that same type of thing, and there are, you know, you can get loot. There is that ability to it as you progress, but because it's run based, you lose that as you go as well.
All right, cool. All right.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So my last game. I'm assuming this is the one you wanted to talk about.
Well, it's the one
Before.
I couldn't remember if you had picked this up when it came out, or did you pick this up on a sale over the holidays?
Yeah, no, this was just a sale over the holidays, which was kind of weird because I got it on Newegg, Newegg.com, and it was like I think $20, I believe, maybe even
What what platform did you pick it up from?
Switch.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was $20 on every console over the holidays.
yeah, okay. So weird thing is though, so it was a physical, boxed game that I bought, which I usually don't buy, but I was like, oh, I'll get this one. I can always just trade it in. But it didn't come with an actual game. It's just a code for the game. So I was like,
I remember that from
oh,
when
like
it
dang it.
launched. That was yep. There were
With
news stories out there. Well, quote unquote news stories out there about.
yeah. So I mean, it's fine. But and this is like the first. This is Wolfenstein Youngblood, but I don't think I said the name of the game that I'm playing here. And I haven't played a Wolfenstein since back on the PC. I think it was Enemy Territory. I think was what it was called.
Hmm.
So that was a while ago.
Yeah, that is a while.
So I haven't played
Yep.
any of the newer ones like the reboot. I don't even know if it's a reboot really, or just a reimagining. And
Yeah, no, there was Wolfenstein, and then um,
New Colossus is the one
yeah,
before
New
that.
Colossus was the one from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep, and
So
these are Billy Baskowitz's daughters. Is that right?
yes. So that was one of the reasons I want to kind of play this too, because since I hadn't played Wolfenstein and then New Colossus, uh, I usually don't like to jump into like a series like that, but this is kind of like an offshoot, like still obviously Nazi controlled, world or America and stuff like that. But it's telling their story instead of the father or
Hmm.
continuing the father's story from the last two games. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll give it a try. But it's pretty fun so far. I mean, just kind of the humor is kind of goofy and kind of gory. Just going through the story on this. I don't know if you played this one or if you've played any of the
I
recent
played New
Wolfensteins.
Colossus and the New Order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes, they're very gory, very
yeah.
very visceral in terms of its combat. Yeah.
Yeah, so just first person shooter. I mean, it plays fine on the Switch. I mean, even graphically, it looks pretty good. It looks fine to me.
Hmm.
With nothing to compare it, it looks fine to me. So I can't
So
worry
does
about what
this
I didn't have. So
drop
kind of
you
thing.
into like a bigger open world where you kind of have some level select pieces? I remember reading about it.
The so far that I've played,
Excuse me.
it's just been kind of linear.
Hmm.
Well, I've only
Okay.
played the first mission, technically the first mission, I suppose, kind of the training mission, which is on a zeppelin. So I mean, you really can't do much on there. And then you kind of drop into the city now. I just got dropped into, and I only played like a few minutes of that section, so I don't know how vast or how big it is,
Okay.
but I'm liking it. I like it. Plays fine. The controls are fine. I don't have any problems with those. Graphically, like I said, it looks fine to me. You can kind of see it once again. Obviously, kind of jaggy and kind of it's not really jaggy. When you're actually looking at the person, it's almost like there's like a film or something on them. It looks kind of weird. Like I don't know how to
Hmm.
describe it. Like kind of smudged almost. It's still obviously a fully 3D rendered world, but it's just kind of like a little bit off. So, but
Is this the same port team that did New Colossus and Doom? Then do you know?
I don't know for sure. I'm gonna have to assume probably since they've
Yeah, I would
done
think
the
so since
previous
it's
ones.
Bethesda. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't release the first one though, right? Wolfenstein on.
No.
I don't think so, right? Yeah, because I wanted to pick that one up, and I'm surprised they never did that one. But yeah, having a lot of fun. So you just pick the one of the twins at the beginning, so you don't
Okay.
really switch off. So the other girl, the other woman's always there with you, but you can't like switch off or anything. So I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't know if that was just I guess the
Do they
design
have different
choice.
play styles? Or
As far as I can tell, no. I mean, I only picked the one so far just to see. I haven't gone back to try the other one. So,
okay.
but it doesn't seem like you pick the girl and you pick like if you want to do like a cloak or I think it's like a power move like a shoulder charge almost, and then a couple other abilities, and it looked like she had the same thing when I was playing the other one, so it's like it just mirrored whatever I picked, which is kind of weird. I would have figured I would have picked the opposite maybe, but it just mirrored what I had. So I picked the cloak, and then the sister was cloaking too when I was cloaking. So I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think there's a
Yeah.
difference
So
there.
it's not necessarily designed to run you in two different directions, but to keep you together.
Yeah, yeah, and this
Yeah.
is I believe this is drop in and out co-op if you want to. Um,
Yeah. This was the game that came with the Buddy Pass for an extra $10 that you could. Yep.
yeah, and I got that buddy pass too, so that was kind of cool. So I can always give that to somebody.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah.
fun. Just kind of action game. I mean, nothing. You don't have to think too much. It's not one that you have to really think
Yeah.
about.
Right. You shoot whatever in front of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you shoot Nazis. So,
Yep.
so
And this was Panic Button. Panic Button did the other ones
oh
as
okay,
well, which were high quality ports.
yeah.
So,
They
and I
do. They
know.
they did the Rocket League port too, which was pretty good.
Oh, did
Actually,
they? Yeah.
yeah,
I remember Agasicles talking about Wolfenstein as a good port. Yep.
yeah. So yeah, I'm
So
having a lot of fun with that. So it's pretty cool.
excellent. So let's keep on another thematic switch here from violent, bloody, killing Nazis to cutesy, cartoony animals with New Super Lucky's Tale. And I talked about this back on the podcast in October, November, sometime when the demo dropped on the eShop. So this is it was originally Oculus game. Then it was brought over to PC and Xbox, and with the Xbox One X, it was a launch game for that. And now it is on it's on Switch, and it's got a fresh coat of paint. The lighting of it makes it look kind of almost storybook like. I've gone back and forth and compared and played similar levels on the Xbox version, which I own, but never really got too far in. And I'm realizing kind of why. Because this version also allows you full camera control, where the Xbox version definitely felt like it was ported from a VR game where it wanted you in a certain camera control piece, and you could move the camera just a little bit. But in New Super Lucky's Tale, you have kind of a full 3D camera on the right stick, so you can spin it around, get any angle you want. So what were kind of difficult jumps because of a fixed camera angle, um, you know, now you're playing it like a GameCube era platformer, and you're manually babysitting the camera to get it up and around, and but it works well. It works well. It's pretty and it's fun. It's a little on the easy side. It is designed as kind of an earlier platform. It's not going to be more Odyssey level in terms of complex, but it's also at least during the holidays, it was kind of fun comfort, right? Like it takes me back to playing platformers on Nintendo platforms. That it's kind of a cute kind of sense of humor to it, and it feels, but at the same time it's still fun to go after, like a Mario game where you've got, you can get to the end and get one page. You're collecting pages to be able to open up, instead of stars, to be able to open up certain next levels, right? Because you have a magical book. Um, but you've got, like Donkey Kong Country, you can spell out the letters to get another page. There's always a hidden page if you can do a certain difficult, a certain challenge within a time period, or find the hidden area. And then there's like the red coins in Mario, that there's, if you collect 300 coins in each level, you get a page as well. So there's multiple different ways. I 100% completed the first three kind of stages in the first world, and I had enough pages to beat the boss. So of the first world, so you wouldn't necessarily have to, you know, do everything at every stage in order to get to the end boss of that stage and keep moving. So it allows for some flexibility, so a completionist could really go in and have some fun with it. But somebody who just wants to kind of keep moving through, or gets frustrated at a certain type, like there's some puzzle levels, you could just skip those and still have enough pages to keep progressing the story. So it's relatively cheap. I think it's $40 right now. I that over this year it's going to drop to 30 down to 20. It's a good game for younger platform fans.
Nice. Yeah, I remember when it came out on the Xbox originally. It wasn't. It got like kind of okay reviews, I guess, like six and
Yep.
sevens and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was like, it was okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a an Oculus port though. I didn't know that. So,
Yes, that's where the name Lucky comes from, is from Palmer Lucky.
oh,
um
nice.
but yeah, but this is what I would say, this is the the best version of it in terms of the graphical fidelity, the backdrops. Looking back and forth between the Xbox and the Switch version, this is where the Switch version's graphics completely outshine the Xbox One X, um, because of the lighting, because of the additional, on the X version, the the skyboxes were kind of just, you know, the sky are black, and now they've added all kinds of other stuff into them. They've just made this a much more living world.
Hmm.
And so when I first picked it up on Switch after having played it on Xbox, we were talking about it as a family. Like, I don't even think this is the same. Is this the same level? These aren't even the same levels, because they just, they feel different. The layout's a little bit different. It's close, but it's not the same. And so they've just gone back and really done a pass over everything in terms of not just kind of just doing a port. So it feels like a new version of this game, like a remixed version type of thing.
Do you have total camera control so you can like spin it all around your character, or just kind of like a
Yep,
little bit
total
back?
camera
Total
control.
control.
Yeah,
Okay.
nope, yep.
Nice.
So it makes it a very viable platformer. And so in a year where there wasn't kind of a cartoony mascot platformer, um, release, that this certainly scratches that itch.
Yeah, I didn't really hear too much about this when it came out on the Switch. I'm just kind of surprised that there was a little bit more fanfare. If they, it seems like they've kind of classed it up a little, or like cleaned it up a little bit. So
Yeah, I guess that's why I wanted to make sure to talk about it here, is that it deserves more praise than it got during the time, and I think maybe it came out at I don't it came out in October, like
that's true.
a week or two before, Mario, or before Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion is beautiful. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
but it feels like it kind of got overlooked in in everything from the fall releases. Where this would have been, if this would have been an early September release, it probably would have gotten a little more press. But it
yeah.
certainly is a game that feels at home on a Nintendo platformer, and it feels like if people haven't tried the demo, it's a great way to give it a chance and see if you like platformers, chances are you're going to enjoy this.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at this one because I know my son likes those platformers too. He always got into Mario and stuff like that. So definitely one I wanna check out. Anything
Yeah.
else that you might have played that you want to talk about real quick, or
Oh, not that I played enough of to be able to talk about. How about that?
okay, all right. Any changes? Well, maybe I will save that for next week. So I was going to ask you if there's any changes to your gaming purchases for the coming year. If you're just gonna kind of wing it, do you have like a set way you're gonna do things or buy games?
I'm still tracking it. I
Got your spreadsheet?
got my spreadsheets.
All right.
I'm already past my expenses for the month.
Oh boy.
But that's because I did pick up I picked up a cheap Fire Emblem Three Houses for like $30,
Oh, nice.
and I picked up a Genesis Mini. It was a
Oh,
deal of the day at GameStop on New Year's Day for $35. So
nice.
yeah, so my sons and I spent the final days of their Christmas vacation plowing through some Genesis games together, sitting close in front of the TV, and
Is
and
it?
and all of us realizing how big controllers were at the time. Like,
Are
this is
the
huge.
cords a little bit longer or no?
Cords are better than the
The
Nintendo one.
Nintendo. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Uh-huh.
Super Nintendo was better. So
Yes, it was. Yep.
yeah.
So yeah, that's. I mean, I think I think a lot of my plan is to see how much I can see how far I can get with just the subscription releases.
Okay.
Um, I think there's maybe I'm gonna shoot for kind of one big release a month,
Okay.
and then target some subscription releases uh, to see what I can. I did get some couple months of Humble Bundle for as a Christmas gift,
Oh,
so
okay. Cool.
um, give that a go as well. So yeah, how about you? Any New Year's gaming purchase resolutions or strategies?
Yeah, I want to try. It's kind of similar to you. I want to try to play at least one new game a month because I get in that kind of that funk where I'm just like sitting on a game for like months at a time before I try to pick something else new. More than likely, excuse me, more than likely it's probably going to be a lot of indie games, especially probably over the summer because obviously there's not a lot of big releases, but um, I want to try to at least get one new game with a caveat of maybe new to me, like maybe it came out
Sure.
last year. But I want to try to do at least something that's this year if possible. If not, then I'll probably I'll grab something from last year, like Three Houses. I didn't get to play. I didn't get to play Daemon X Machina. Um, what was that other one that came out?
Astro Chain.
Astral Chain. Yeah, I still wanted to play that. So those might sneak in. Kind of those months where it's kind of slow.
Sure.
So for this month, I know the two I was eyeing are Dragon Ball Z Kakarot,
Mm-hmm.
just because I guess it's going to be more RPG ish kind of a gameplay. So you can level up Goku as he goes on his journey, and then I forgot what the other one was. No, I can't remember the other one, but
Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
yes, that was probably the other one. I
Okay.
was probably going to get more than likely just because it's kind of a little different and weird. That has um, it's crossed with Fire Emblem. No, not Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem and
Yeah,
Persona.
Persona. Yeah. So I might dip my toes into that one. That might get me ready
Is it?
for
I don't
Fire.
know if it's Persona or is it just Shin Megami Tensei. But either way, I mean, it's still in that kind of style.
Yeah,
So
it
I've
just
got that in my GameFly cart. So
oh nice.
yeah, and actually, I mean, the Assassin's Creed, Super Lucky's Tale, and Risk of Rain I all picked up through GameFly to
Oh,
try.
together.
So
Okay. Yeah.
which
Sweet.
I might end up buying Super Lucky's Tale because I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, cool. That's good. I remember the days where I used to rent. Basically, is what you're doing. You're renting the games before you.
Basically, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I was just thinking about that today. Like that's. Sometimes I feel bad like I don't finish a game all the time, but I also am realizing like I grew up renting games, so
Yeah.
it was about sampling. It wasn't, I didn't own as many games as I do now. I own more games now than I ever have.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Back then, I was like, oh, I gotta play as much as I can before I gotta take it back. Within a week or
mm-hmm.
3 days or whatever it was. So,
Yep.
but yeah. So yeah, that's my New Year's resolution is at least one new game every month. So
Nice.
we'll see
That's
how
good.
that
That's a good
goes.
resolution.
Yeah.
Keep it diversified for you.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of want to do too is maybe try to go into things that I may not play as much or at all. So we'll see. We'll
Hmm.
see what happens. So let's jump into our picks plays before we sign off here. And I
Sure.
believe you had brought this up in our chat here.
Yeah, so next week, if our plan is to do kind of a decade in gaming review to talk about some trends in games, game culture, the game industry over the last 10 years, pull out some highlights from each of us, not to make this an exhaustive list because we're only going to shoot for 90 minutes. But um, so with that in mind, what I wanted to do is do a little bit of uh, a 10-year review of game design as well. And so a pick play is to go back and pick out a game from that was released in 2010 to see if it how much it still holds up in this year. Um, and that we've talked about a couple of them already tonight. Bayonetta, the original, was released in 2010. Talked about God of War, the original God of Wars.
Yep.
God of War 3 was released in 2010. In that God of War style, you also got the Castlevania Lords of Shadow game. You got Fallout New Vegas. You get Mass Effect 2. You've got Darksiders. There's, and that's just kind of within the first few months of releases. That
Yeah.
you get into the fall, you get Red Dead Redemption and Call of Duty Black Ops. You get StarCraft 2. There's a ton of options for us to kind of dive into. So I'm pretty sure we all have Halo Reach. Again, is another one,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And I just played that on PC last month as it got re-released.
Nice.
So yeah, I think I mean I what I want to do is we've all got something in our backlog that came out in 2010, and to give us a chance to go back and play it, play at least one or two games to see how some of the game design of that decade or that year holds up. And I think depending on what we choose as games, we may be able to kind of telegraph if we think that gameplay is going to hold up or not, right?
Yeah.
If I choose Super Mario Galaxy 2 or if I choose Mafia 2, I'm pretty sure one's going to hold up in terms of its gameplay a little bit more. Um, then again, if I choose Just Cause 2, I could still have a ton of fun with the craziness of the physics of Just Cause 2. So,
Now something I was just thinking about. Are we limited to the actual 2000 game, or can you do like a reboot or remaster of that game? I would say
mm,
the original.
I would think the original as well, so that you're
Uh,
you're not playing a polished version. I think if you have something that is backwards compatible, you should certainly play it on
yeah,
another,
that should be fine.
but not like a remastered version of something.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure what's on the list that's remastered. Oh, I guess Darksiders has been remastered.
yeah, and Reach. When you mentioned Reach, that's when I thought about that. I was like, oh wait, well, you could play, you could play that, but you'd be playing the updated version.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can probably
No,
find back on the
you could.
Xbox. Yeah, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
backwards compat on Xbox One.
Yes, it is. It's because I've had it. I've played it when it was one of the earlier games on backwards compatibility.
Okay,
So
we'll need to throw that out there because I know a certain person that might try to try to find that loophole there that we know and love, but he might try
yes,
to he
but
might
yes,
try
I
to,
think
to use that
I
loophole.
think some of this is very much. Let's go back to to that original game to see how it holds up.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Cool. Yeah, it should be fun. I was.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what people pick actually.
Yeah, I'll have to go back. Like I did like a quick search and I found like one thing like random where it listed some, but I was like, I know there's got to be more, like a more exhaustive list that I could find like, for each month,
Yeah,
like what was released and stuff like that. At least the major stuff, you know.
Wikipedia's got a pretty good entry of game releases year by year,
Nice. Okay.
um, and it'll tell you what console. And if it's, sometimes you'll see that the Xbox, like things did, right? That you had the 360 and the PC version first, and then months later you had the PlayStation 3 version,
Yeah. Yeah.
or you had the Wii and DS version, and then you had the Xbox and PlayStation version because they were really two different games,
Yeah.
but with the same title.
I'll probably dip into Xbox Game Pass for my pick more than likely, but we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see. Because I have my 360 packed away right now, so can't pull
sure.
anything from there.
No problem.
Yeah.
That's what it's there for, right?
Hmm. All right.
All right.
Cool. So.
Thanks for hosting tonight. Thanks for the
Oh,
conversation. Good to catch back up. After a long break with a lot of games, good to kind of get back and talking about it.
oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I played a lot of games, as you can see from my list. And of course I played my usuals, Fortnite and Rocket League and all that those type of games. So yeah, it was pretty busy gaming holiday. So that was cool. All right, so let's end the show on that. So we got our picks plays. We talked about all our games we've been playing the last few weeks or so. And actually, Pine I had actually been playing for quite a while. I forgot to mention
Hmm.
that earlier. I hadn't had a chance to talk about the last couple times we were doing our Jack shows. So and I think I might have missed one or two also in there. So, but that's all right. Finally got to talk about it.
Nice.
So that's it for episode number 125. I don't know if I mentioned the episode number at the beginning for January 7th, 2020. DBQ, thanks for joining me tonight. I'm glad we can have a show tonight, even though we were not the show that we wanted to do, but I think we should have everybody next week for our big decade-long discussion of games. So catch us more than likely next Thursday. I believe is the day we're trying to pin down now, probably around the same time. As always, you can catch us on YouTube. Look for Enough to Keep Going or E2KG Network. And then check us on SoundCloud if you want to just listen to us and not see our beautiful faces. So, for DBQ Hams, I am Osiris Prime. We will see you next time.